It's Monday, April 6, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the schools now banning the application. And we always have great guests here on the show, and today is no exception, as we'll be joined by Dennis Quaid. Yes, Dennis Quaid, to talk about his new podcast production company and show, The Dennissance. Plus, rumors are still circling about the release of the new iPhone SE or iPhone 9, and when we can see it. So our own Andy Boxall will recap what we know and what he expects from Apple's impending announcement. And it's Monday, which means it's time for Drew Prindle to once again join the show for awesome tech you can't buy yet, where he'll showcase such products as the Easy, a video synthesizer which makes visuals out of your music. All of that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. And hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. All we're broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're watching, you can join in the conversations that we get to have. We love to see your comments, what you want to know about. We've got a great show lined up, and I will say Dennis Quaid's going to be on here in less than 10 minutes. But first, let's get you started off with some trending news. This is what we like to do, is bring you up to date on at least a few trending news stories. To start off, let's talk about Zoom. Zoom certainly has seen a tremendous growth over the last couple of weeks, in particular even the last week. Growing from December, they had 10 million active users to 200 million now active users of their platform. But there are some backlashes going on, some concerns about privacy and security, a number of which we've detailed at Digital Trends, but here's what some of the results are of that. So right now, the New York City Public Schools, their Department of Education, has said that they are banning Zoom from being used. They're saying that schools should move away from it. They should move away as soon as possible. They said that there are security concerns and that the safety and experience of their students is essential. So they're saying that there are many components to remote learning. We are making real-time decisions in the best interest of our staff and students. And that is one of those things. You know, right now, obviously, things move fast. Things are changing very quickly, but they are saying that they're actually going to switch to Microsoft Teams. So their spokesperson said that it has the same capabilities with appropriate security measures in place. So the ban will cover about 1.1 million students in more than 1,800 schools across the 5 boroughs. So that's definitely a big move there in banning Zoom from that. We'll have to see where this plays out. Now, Zoom's CEO has made repeated claims that they are, and statements that they are looking to alleviate some of these security concerns and make updates. They said that they were not really prepared for this many people, which is understandable, but that is where they're at. Now, another issue going on with Zoom, and this is something else that people should be aware of when it comes to federal prosecutors, is that Zoombombing is officially being called a crime. Now, Zoombombing, we've probably all heard horror stories, or maybe some people have been affected by it. I certainly know some people who were affected by it, and it's where somebody jumps into a meeting and does horrible things. Guess what? Jerks are going to be jerks, and that sucks. So this is what's happening, though. Federal prosecutors in Michigan warned the public that Zoom bombing isn't a harmless prank. It is a crime. They're saying that you could be charged with a couple of different things: disrupting a public meeting, computer intrusion, using a computer to commit a crime, hate crimes, and a bunch of other ones. And they said that you could face potential fines or jail time. So it does seem like authorities are taking it seriously. That's something you should be aware of. So Zoom bombing, definitely not something that's just a harmless prank. Continuing on here, just with our up-to-date coverage, bring you up to date with some things. Misinformation is still a big concern when it comes to what's going on with coronavirus and things that are being spread online. And now 5G is one of the things that's being affected by that. Now, there have always been 5G rumors out there and conspiracy theories. It abounds. But this is one now having to do with COVID-19. And this is something that's been spreading online, and I feel like it is a trending news story enough that we do need to bring your attention to it. So the conspiracy theory links 5G technology to the coronavirus outbreak. There's a number of different ways. Nothing is verified on this as far as how they're making these claims, but essentially claiming that 5G internet is to blame for it. So much so that in the UK, there are some conspiracy theorists who set fire to a cell tower. So they set fire to a 5G cell tower. Now, this is being spread so much online that there is actually some more confirmation coming out from companies who are looking to get rid of a lot of this misinformation that's out there. So Woody Harrelson even posted about this. So that's how far it's going. But YouTube has announced that they will delete videos which, quote, groundlessly link 5G technology to the spread of COVID-19. So they said that it's part of their commitment to reduce the spread of harmful misinformation. So they want people to know that they're going to be deleting some of these videos. Now, there are some, they said that 5G videos and conspiracy theories that don't link to coronavirus or COVID-19 may stay up as part of freedom of speech, but they're very committed to removing misinformation associated with this. Facebook issued a similar statement. So something that you should be aware of if you start seeing some of these linking coronavirus to 5G, they're probably going to get taken down, at least according to YouTube and Facebook. Again, misinformation is such a problem right now. I highly suggest people go to reputable sites that cite their sources, especially when it comes to that. You can always link back to CDC and WHO, but it's very important to not be spreading misinformation. So that is something that those two companies are working on. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's continue on here. And again, bringing you updates on what is going on in trending news. So first up, we've got this. Quibi is launching today. Streaming content, streaming entertainment is something that we're all looking for more of right now. Quibi had a huge campaign to launch here earlier this year, with the focus being on mobile viewing. That is where you're going to be watching it. Now, certainly their marketing strategies had to change a little bit. The idea was you'd be waiting in lines places or waiting in the back of a car, going on a Lyft or Uber ride to watch these 10-minute, essentially 6 to 10 minute little short videos. But nonetheless, they are rolling out today. They've got over 50 shows, and they certainly have some huge backing. They believe $1.8 billion is what was just raised for this. So they've got all kinds of different stars that are in there. Chrissy Teigen, you've got Liam Hemsworth with one. There's with a dystopian show that Liam Hemsworth is doing. And you can watch it either straight up and down, like a normal mobile video, or flip it to its side and get a different experience as well. So that's kind of an interesting aspect of it, of what they're doing with it. The service will cost $4.99 with ads or $7.99 without ads. But they are offering a 90-day free trial if you sign up before the end of April. So it's certainly a good time to check this out for 90 days to see if it's something that you're going to be wanting to watch. They've also got other people involved are Steven Spielberg, Idris Elba, Jennifer Lopez, Kristen Bell, Kendall Jenner, Tyra Banks, Steph Curry. All of them have deals for content on the platform, whether it's documentaries, whether it's original series, or even comedy shows. There's all kinds of stuff that's on there. They said that they'll be launching 25 new episodes per day will go up in association with their content. So new streaming service to pay attention to. We've got a write-up about it at Digital Trends. You can go there and take a look now. Let us know what you think about Quibi. All right, continuing on, just a couple more quick news stories, and then I know we need to get to our break. Something else to pay attention to is that TCL is launching their new phone. So with Mobile World Congress being canceled and all these conventions, you see a lot of companies now figuring out how they're going to launch their products. Well, TCL getting into the phone game, trying to disrupt it, just like they did televisions a couple of years ago. So the TCL 10 series of smartphones, which it teased during CES 2020, have launched. They've got a TCL 10 5G. One of the key things here with the 5G is the price. It's about $490 US. Now, it's not coming to the United States to start off with, but that is definitely the lowest priced, I would say, 5G phone, at least that I can think of right off the top. It's one of the cheapest ones that we've seen. So certainly something interesting there, disrupting. They've also got the TCL 10 Pro, which is about $450, and the TCL 10L, which is $250. Now, TCL really shook up the television industry when they got in for producing some really quality televisions at a much lower price. So we'll see if this works the same way when it comes to the mobile market, but that is something they have launched. So you can read more about all of those phones at digitaltrends.com, and we'll be talking about the iPhone SE, I want to say that, coming up here in just a little bit with Andy Boxall. So we'll talk about the rumors associated with that. One last thing, then we have a product of the day. We do want to say this. Tomorrow, SpaceX will be live broadcasting, and we will most likely be restreaming that as well, so you can watch it here, live broadcasting the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft departing the ISS. So this has been up there for a while. They've been running experiments. They're going to bring back about 4,000 pounds of equipment from the International Space Station, including the results of a number of different experiments they did. So that'll be a really fascinating thing to see what they come back with, but also just seeing it disconnect there from the ISS and watching it come back down. So that's something that you can always check out. You can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. All right. Secret. It's now time for the product of the day. Yes, indeed. The product of the day for today is this. It's the Realm 2600 PSI electric pressure washer. Yes, an electric pressure washer. Now, I'll tell you this. I actually have an electric pressure washer, and it's pretty sweet. Let me tell you about this one. So you're all at home right now, right? We've got some different projects we can get done. This is a great thing to have delivered to your house. So it's better than a gas one because it's a lot quieter, and I will definitely testify to that. The electric ones are much quieter. They have a number of different nozzles that you can use. You can have different tips. You can use it for different things. You can use it to even wash vehicles, to removing dirt, grime, gunk, or say you've got just sidewalk moss you want to get rid of. This is also a great way to do that. So outdoor furniture, a lot of different things you can use it with. It's very easy to set up. I'll say that. These ones are really simple. It's got a removable tank with 800 milliliter detergent tank, so you can even have detergent on there. It's got some great energy conservation, and it's environmentally friendly. So certainly something really cool there. Now this one in particular has a 30-day money-back guarantee and a 2-year warranty, so something you're going to want to check out there. And again, we're taking a look at the Realm 2600 PSI electric pressure washer. Hey, we're broadcasting live, and sometimes some things happen, but there it is. So you can take a look at that and read more about it at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's continue on here with our news today, and I want to thank everybody who's joining us, whatever platform you're on. Coming up next, we've got something really great for you. We've got Jared Gutstadt, who is the CEO and founder of Audio Up, but also Dennis Quaid joining with him as well. That's coming up next right here on this show, so stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. I appreciate it. I'm Greg Nibbler. It's a lot of fun here doing this show every day, and we get to have some really great interviews talking about all kinds of different things, and I'm very excited for this interview right now. So thanks wherever you're at. Hit that subscribe button, but let's talk about streaming content and entertainment is at such a premium right now, and there is a new podcast production company that's launching called Audio Up, and we have two very important people for that joining us right now. We've got Jared Gutstadt, who is the CEO and founder of Audio Up. Jared, thank you very much for joining us. And Dennis Quaid, somebody who really needs no introduction, but I'm doing it anyway. Jared, hello. Dennis, hello. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the new newsroom.
It's such an... Right? I know. I know. I'm here in a corner of my living room right now doing the work from home stuff. So I thank everybody for joining us. I know you two are at your respective areas, wherever you are, doing your social distancing. But let's talk about Audio Up. And Jared, I wanted to start with you. If you could just talk about the founding of this company, what your inspiration was, and maybe going from there to how you ended up connecting with Dennis Quaid for this.
All right. So this is an interesting story. Typically, I learn a lot by failing at other parts of media. And all through my music career, I wanted to put out a really special album that I'd been working on called Bear and a Banjo. It got rejected summarily by almost every single record label. It was a record I put together with Pooh Bear, believe it or not, T-Bone Burnett, who was famous for Crazy Heart and Oh Brother. And we got Bob Dylan wrapped into it. And after a while, I realized that this was not an album. This was a soundtrack to a story that had not been written yet. Fast forward, I call up Dennis Quaid and I said, Dennis, we need to turn this into a movie for your ears. This is about a year and a half ago. And Dennis says, this sounds really interesting. What's it going to be about? I said, I'm not sure yet, but we're going to pitch it. We pitch it to iHeart Podcast Network, and it becomes a first of its kind, almost elevated concept album. And we went from pitching it in Las Vegas, believe it or not, where Dennis ended up meeting the love of his life and his fiance, Laura. And then all these amazing things happen. We perform the songs from the musical before the music is written at South by Southwest. A brand raises their hand and says, this is something we want to be doing. So at which point we're like, wow, there's a business here. We put the podcast out, and here we are, and we're going to do more Audio Up type stories, I call them. As much as we love the two hosts and the microphone model, we feel there's a whole world for elevated storytelling with music as the bedrock and really interesting elevated conversations, which is Audio Up.
Stories. That's what it's all. And it was T-Bone Burnett who put Jared and I together with us. And Bear and a Banjo was the first podcast to also launch a record.
That's fascinating. So I love that idea, like a movie soundtrack for your ears, and just or how you're describing it, just essentially what you're coming up with, which is a unique concept that I feel like hasn't really been done exactly this way before. Now, Dennis, for you, I want to talk about the Dennissance, and I want to get into that too, and talk about what you have going there. So I guess to start off with, are you an active podcast listener already? And if so, what ones were you listening to before this?
When Jared had asked me to be a part of this, I have to admit that I had barely listened to a podcast before. And so I did my homework, and I love the medium. A lot of what we're doing I can compare to radio plays that, from the 40s when the family used to sit around and listen to stories and use their imagination, and music element attracted me very much as well.
And looking at that, I mean, you brought up T-Bone Burnett. I mean, that's such a huge person right there in this industry. But with your with the concept of your show in particular, can you tell us, how you came up with the name, the Dennissance, and what some of the inspiration was for these interviews?
Well, we thought about paying homage to Ellen and calling it Dennis Quaid is here, but I have a lot of interest outside of acting in my life, having lived all these years. I'm a pilot, and through making movies, I've done research, but a baseball player, but being around like Jimmy Morris, I've been around Chuck Yeager, I've been around a lot of really incredible people from different facets of life, and that's who I want to talk to on the Dennissance, to really get to talk to them, and at a time when they may not have something just to sell, and really get under the skin and find out who they are other than how we know them.
And one thing to add there is,
Yeah, I mean, and certainly you're at. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
Getting to know Dennis, every time I tell him about something I'm interested in, he'll be like, "Oh, I know the person who, was the first person who went to the moon, or the person who broke the sound barrier, or, the rookie." And I'm like, "Oh my God, like these stories." And after listening as a fan to even him going on other podcasts like Corolla and Marin, I realized, not just as a guest, but as someone who had access to all these amazing people, no one's doing that in podcasting. I think in the entertainment soundbite universe, there's a lot of, articles or quick quips out there about almost every celebrity. But the way that Dennis engages in this long-form storytelling is pretty unique.
And I think that's, just such a perfect point to make, too, is that, Dennis, you have been involved with all of these people, and you know so many different people at the same time that you can get that access. And I think what a lot of people like, too, when it comes to podcasts, and especially now, is getting behind the scenes. We can all see what somebody's doing, on a very public side, but what's the story behind the story, or what's something unique about them? And I know you focus on that, too. And I wanted to just kind of ask about, you have your... And I don't know if we can say any names on who's coming out on the interviews to start off with yet. I'll leave that to you. I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe you can walk through who some of the guests are that you have.
Well, so far we've done Billy Ray Cyrus. We've done Tanya Tucker. We are going to have people like Billy Bob Thornton. We're going to have politicians. We're going to have scientists, pilots. It's going to be a really interesting, assorted mix of people from all walks of life.
And that I think is just great too, like getting to hear some of those behind the scenes things and getting to talk to those kind of people. I mean, that right there is very varied. Just to start off with, Billy Ray Cyrus, Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, looking at it, going forward, talking about your interview style, and since you do have such a personal connection, what kinds of things, just to give somebody just a little bit of a tease, like, is there something interesting that you find out during these things, or is it more recounting stories that you already know about?
Well, these people are my friends and acquaintances. So there are certain things in life that maybe everybody does know about in their lives, but we really kind of get into a more personal talk about it, and to get under the skin, because we have our own unique way of communicating. We did Billy Bush a couple of weeks ago, but he's also part of it, and to really get the story of what happened to him a few years ago, being really sent to what you call Hollywood jail for a time, and how that's been for him. He's making a comeback. I really love to focus on people who had some controversy as well, like Lance Armstrong. We're also going to be doing him to find out how they fared and where their story is. It's just stories were big at the time, and maybe now I'd like to follow up and see where they are now.
That's definitely interesting. I think that's the concept that you just put of Hollywood jail, which is something that a lot of people have gone through before. So I think, hearing the story of Billy Bush or Lance Armstrong, I mean, that's fascinating on its own. For you, you're interviewing your friends. I do want to ask, going forward with the Dennissance, is there one person out there that would be like a dream interview for you personally to sit down and talk to?
I would love to talk to Bill Clinton. I spent a weekend in the White House with him. I considered myself an FOB. Friend of Bill at the time. He at a time in my life where I was really needing some connection and some advice with people, he was really great to me.
I would love to hear that interview. Dennis Quaid and Bill Clinton. Yeah, I will listen to that immediately. But Jared and Dennis too. I want to let everybody know. I want to let everybody know. Talking about, with this launch and what's going to be happening, like, where do people go to listen to it? Where can we direct people to find out?
So I can feel that one. That is, it's real easy. Go to anywhere where podcasts are distributed. Right now, Audio Up, the website, audioup.com/Dennissance has our all the trailers and all the episodes will be listed there. But obviously, if you go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it's all distributed to the major carriers, and we're excited. This is a big week for us. Dennis has such a unique voice, and I will say that the Billy Bush one, what he just mentioned, is just as someone who's listening in the room while we were recording it, these feel almost like novels or books or something like that. The way that Dennis gets in there, yes, he's friends with a lot of these people, but he's able to wear such a different hat in this thing, and it was amazing hearing the story of somebody's life being shattered through a moment and how he reconstructed it. So I think there's a lot of just great storytelling, great reportage, and go to audioup.com/the Dennissance.
Fantastic. Well, Jared and Dennis, thank you so much for joining us here. I can't wait to listen to these episodes, and revisit this and see where you're going. Yeah, thanks a lot for being here with us today on Digital Trends Live.
Podcasts are available. You can go and you can find Audio Up. You can or go to Audio Up on the website, and you can see our complete slate of programs.
Nice. Dennis, thank you very much. Jared, thank you very much. Again, Audio Up. Everybody go check it out. Appreciate you being here
Have a great
at
day.
Trends Live.
Thank you.
Everybody stay safe.
You too. Yeah, everybody stay safe, 100%. All right, and thank you everybody for joining us too, who's watching this live here on Digital Trends. We appreciate that very much. Hit that subscribe button, and that way you can get the notifications when we go live. Got more coming up though. So here's what's happening next. We've got Andy Boxall who's going to join us to talk about the Apple iPhone, the iPhone SE, or is it the iPhone 9? When is it coming out? What is it going to be? We're going to cover all of the rumors associated with that, and Andy's going to fill us in on all the details that he has. So that's coming up next. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Again, thank you everyone for joining us wherever you are. Hit that subscribe button, whatever platform you're on. We are live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So we want you to join the show and have some fun with it. And we'll try to bring you some really interesting things. Now, something that has been a rumor for a while is that Apple is going to launch a new iPhone. But is it going to be the iPhone SE? Is it the iPhone 9? What are the specs going to be? Well, that's why we have Andy Boxall joining us to talk about this. So, Andy, I want to say, hey, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you're safe in quarantine where you are. But let's talk about Apple and this new iPhone. So let's start from the beginning here. What do we expect? What do we know so far?
Okay, so as usual with Apple stuff, we don't know anything official at all yet. It's all just rumor. So the new iPhone SE to iPhone 9, whatever, that's going to be the theoretical replacement to the iPhone SE that came out back in 2016. And it's key because it's the cheapest iPhone we've seen released brand new. It cost $400 at the time. And that's way less than an iPhone 11 will cost today. So that's what makes it really exciting. Apple to release a cheap brand new phone. Big story.
So, you know, with this, and since everything's kind of changed up now with announcements too, obviously, because all the events are canceled, so things are kind of in disarray. And like you said, Apple keeping things close to the chest anyway. What do we expect as far as release time? Is this something that they were going to be releasing? Is this something that's shocking news, or do we already know a little bit about this ahead of time?
It has been rumored for months and months, probably years, seeing as the SE came out in 2016 and traditionally phones are upgraded sort of every year. So it's been hanging around as a rumor for ages. There's also a good chance it may have come out earlier this year, but because of various situations, that's not been possible. There's been rumors of delays, and now we're expecting, according to rumors, Apple to talk about the phone for the first time officially on April the 15th, with a release coming on April the 22nd. So very soon we could actually get all the details about this phone. What we think we know is that it will be vaguely based visually on the old iPhone 8. And that means bezels at the top and bottom of the screen, no notch, and a Touch ID fingerprint sensor. So quite different to what we're used to with the iPhone 11. But interestingly, Apple may use the same A13 Bionic processor that we have in the iPhone 11 inside the new phone. And that could make it really powerful compared to, well, pretty much any used iPhone or old iPhone that you could buy. And that's a really important distinction. Makes it much more desirable.
So with, again, basically on the iPhone 8, which I think is kind of an interesting way to go about it, I do have to ask, and I want to get back to the specifics, but I know this is such a hotly contested thing. What do you think it's going to be called? Is it going to be the iPhone SE 2 sequel, or is it going to be the iPhone 9?
Well, I think they've left it a bit too long to call it a sequel. I mean, 4 years ago, that's quite long for phones. I think the iPhone 9 is just confusing, although there has been a very recent rumor that shows Verizon has got an iPhone 9 reference in some documentation, but we've had the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 11, so why would you introduce an iPhone 9 after it? Makes no sense. There's a good chance that they'll follow the way that they've been naming iPads, which is simply to call it an iPad and then have sort of a date added on for marketing and things like that, but everyone just knows it as the iPhone. So it could just end up being the iPhone SE 2020 edition in brackets for the really nerdy.
Okay, going from talking about the name, I want to go back into some more of the specifics about the phone itself as far as what we know. Do we think that there would be different versions of it? Would there just be this one? It's the iPhone, SE2, we'll just use that, or SE, and this is it? Or will we have like a plus version or variations in there?
Well, it's an interesting thing because the SE, which was based on the iPhone 5, just came in one flavor. That was it. But because there's this rumor of Apple basing it on the iPhone 8, that's joined in with another rumor of it becoming an iPhone SE2 and an iPhone SE2 Plus. So we may get a 4.7-inch version and a 5.5-inch Plus version. So what makes this really cool is that that's the same route that Google takes with the Pixel 3a. You get a Pixel 3a and you get a Pixel 3a XL. So their cheap phones come in two sizes. And people don't just want a handleable small phone, they also want the big screen experience, just not to pay much money for it. So we could get two versions, which is the same direction that Google took its cheaper version of its flagship Pixel 3.
You mentioned that April 15th is the rumored announcement date, with maybe even the phones being able to be released soon after that. Now, do you know, and surely this is hard to tell, but I don't know if there are any rumors just about supply chain issues when it comes to this one, because that's something that I know we're expecting down the line with other releases. Could this be something like that, where there's an issue with the supply chain?
It's possible. The iPhone 12, when that arrives later this year, that's more likely to have issues because everything inside is going to be new design in theory, and all new tech inside. But because this is based on a phone that kind of already exists, which has got existing tech, probably similar components used inside, and an established supply chain for many of those things, depending on massive demand issues, then it should be okay. But because the world is so difficult to predict at the moment, there's every chance somebody who really wants one may have to wait a little bit longer. Deliveries of the new iPad Pro, which was announced a week or two or so ago, that has taken a little bit longer than expected, I think, to reach some people. Delivery dates slipped by about a week just to meet demand, and also with delivery. That's the main problem. It's getting them out the door and getting them to people. That's probably more so going to be the concern with getting a new iPhone SE2 than factory problems.
So yeah, that's true. That's another great point. I didn't even think about the actual delivery side of things. Even if they have them, getting them out to people is a concern. Well, just to kind of finalize this too, because I know that we've got a write-up about this at Digital Trends too, kind of going through what we expect. But when it comes to pricing, can you recap like the pricing and maybe even what we think? Well, I mean, again, what we think the pricing will be when it comes down to it.
Sure. So basing our knowledge on the iPhone SE, when that was announced, it cost $400 for the lowest basic model. The current iPhone 8, which is actually still sold by Apple, you can buy a brand new one right now from Apple's website, that costs $450. So even with an A13 Bionic processor inside, it seems strange that they would charge more. So $450 or below for the basic one seems entirely achievable based on our knowledge now and what the SE cost before. However, that doesn't mean that it's the only cheap iPhone that you can buy. If you want a cheap iPhone right now, you can get that iPhone 8, or you can also look at last year's iPhone XR, which you can buy for, I think it's about $500 or $600. Really great phone. You can get it now in cool colors. The SE2, I'm not sure whether it's going to be targeting people in the US as much as it is going to be targeting Apple's key growth areas in China and in India, where the iPhone 11 did really well at a slightly lower price than the 2018 models. So expect to see this really spread Apple's market share out in the world. But in the US, $400 for a brand new iPhone with the latest processor, I think people are going to really flock to this in the same way people were excited about the Pixel 3a. So April 15th could be a really big day for Apple for a brand new cheap iPhone.
Well, mark it on the calendar, because we'll be following along, as always, with any new developments that come out as the rumors happen. And Andy, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to talk about this. We've got the right up there at Digital Trends and all the latest news about everything releasing in mobile, as it sporadically does. That is a challenge for you to stay up on all this stuff, since there's no real events that are happening. But Andy, thank you very much for being here.
Pleasure. Thanks, Greg.
That is Andy Boxall, so read everything that he's got there at digitaltrends.com. Coming up, we've got Drew Prindle for another edition of Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. But before that, we're going to take a break, and we've got something called Desk Envy with our own Dan Baker that's going to showcase some interesting things that I think you're going to want to see. So that's coming up next. We're broadcasting live. Thank you to everybody who's joining us. There's more on the way. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Hey friends, my name is Dan. I'm a video producer here at Digital Trends, and today, just like yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that, I'm working from home. So if you're anything like me, you've probably spent a fair amount of time recently on conference calls via Zoom or Skype. And while the built-in FaceTime camera on the iMac is fine, I felt like as a video producer, I had to kind of step up and flex a little bit. So I've set up my Fujifilm X-T20 with the 27mm 2.8 pancake lens and plugged that into my computer via the Elgato Camlink HDMI to USB converter. The other thing you may have noticed set up on my desk is the microphone. This is the Audio-Technica AT2020 plugged directly into a Behringer Euphoria UM2 audio interface. I mostly use this to chat with my friends on Discord while we're gaming, but it's also perfect for Zoom and Skype calls. What this equipment does is it allows me to go from a shot that is pretty busy and distracting with all of these toys that Connor refuses to put away to something like this, a much more controlled look with that creamy out of focus background and more robust audio. As a video producer, I need a solid machine that can handle 4K projects on a quick turnaround. So at the center of my setup is a 2017 27-inch 5K iMac with a quad-core i5 and 40 gigabytes of RAM. Most of my time is spent inside of Adobe Premiere working with 4K ProRes footage from my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and this thing never struggles. It doesn't matter how long the project is or how many clips I've got, this thing never skips a beat. I know you might be wondering why I'm not working on a PC, but I've gotten really comfortable with the Apple ecosystem and it's become an integral part of my workflow. Whether that's sending files from my phone to my computer via AirDrop, unlocking the device with my Apple Watch, or even watching exports back on my Apple TV 4K. When it comes to audio, I have this pair of Logitech computer speakers that are like 15 years old, and they still sound great, but I generally lean towards a pair of headphones because this guy has a problem with the squirrels that live in the trees outside of our apartment. So with that in mind, I use the Audio-Technica ATH MX50 Bluetooth headphones. I think their sound is really balanced, which is great for video editing, and they look pretty clean too, but on top of that, they have a 40-hour battery life, which means that I rarely need to charge them. Now, when they do get low, I have this headphone stand made by Kuzu or Kozo or whatever, it doesn't really matter. What is important is that it has 3 USB ports and 2 AC outlets. As for keyboard and mouse, I'm using the Logitech Wireless G502 mouse, which I love because I can bind my Adobe Premiere shortcuts to the extra mouse buttons, which allows me to speed up my editing process. Additionally, I can also switch profiles pretty quickly for different programs or a little bit of light gaming after work. Now, my keyboard, the VinPoc TapTech. It's a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, the keys make that great click-clack sound that my wife hates. The variety of RGB modes look pretty cool, and the ability to save connections for various devices can come in handy. But on the other hand, I often find myself mistyping or double punching a key. So if you're a writer or somebody that needs a ton of accuracy, this might not be the one for you. I also have a wireless phone charger, this cute dog calendar I bought in Japan, and a Google Home that I almost exclusively use to turn on the ghost light in the corner and the RGB strip on the back of my desk. But that pretty much wraps it up for my home desk setup. Let us know what your work from home setup looks like, or if you have any questions about mine. But until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home.
Well, hello there. Thanks for joining us. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you, seriously, for being here. And hit that subscribe button. It is now time, though, since it's Monday, for Awesome Check You Can't Buy Yet with our own Drew Prindle, who scours the internet in different crowdfunding sites to find some of the coolest and strangest products for you to see. Drew, hello. First off, just want to say hi. It looks like you are quarantining in style right there. But let's start off with what this first one is. And it's called something called Izzy. Am I saying that correct?
I think so. I mean, you always ask me if you're pronouncing these correct. You know just as well as I do, because I just read these things. I don't really hear people pronounce them out loud. But yeah, Izzy is basically, it's a video synthesizer. So, you know, like most people are familiar with the idea of like a sound synthesizer, like, you know, a bunch of buttons and knobs, and you can just like, you know, make a custom sound from scratch electronically. This is that, but for video. So the idea is, if you're like, let's say you're like a DJ or some sort of audio artist, and you want to add a visual component to your show, instead of relying on some sort of like stock visualizer or something like that, you can actually take various patterns and mix them together to make weird, you know, visuals like this. And it does it in real time with the music, and it's based on the sounds that you're playing. So it's just like a weird musical instrument thing that, I don't know, there's a pretty big subculture of this on Kickstarter, and I think this is one of the most intriguing ones that I've seen in a long time.
So that's Izzy. I mean, right now, I think there's probably a lot of people that would be in the market for this since everybody's at home trying to come up with something creative. This could be a fun one to use. So Izzy on Kickstarter right now. Let's see, is it back? It's got 14 days left. Oh, yeah. So they wanted a $10,000 goal. They're right now, as of this moment, at $117,000. So, yeah, it turns out there's a lot of people that want this.
Yeah. I mean, it's just unique, you know? Like, I've seen a lot of visually oriented and sound oriented synthesizer looking things on Kickstarter, but nothing like this one. So, yeah, I think that uniqueness is probably why it's so popular.
All right, well, going through this for awesome tech you can't buy yet, where Drew again finds some of these different projects. This next one I'm actually pretty interested in. I believe I'm just going to say it's pronounced Aribo. It's called the One Touch Body Dryer. That is the tagline for this. What are we looking at here?
So you know those like Dyson Airblade things that you'll see in like bathrooms from time to time? Is they blow air at your hands so efficiently that they like remove all of the water and then you don't have to use an actual towel. This is that idea, but for your whole body instead of just your hands. So you stand on it, it blows wind up or like air at you. It's like a blow dryer, and it kind of makes this like vortex thing that apparently dries you off really quickly and eliminates the need for you to use a towel.
So, I mean, this seems like something that's out of, the Jetsons, or like, this is the kind of, to me, like future tech that we need. If I could just pull me like out of bed and run me through like a shower tube and then blow dry me, that'd be even better. But this,
it's like one of those drive-through car wash things, right? Like that's what we need. That's the next step. This is the element of that. You just need the washing part.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's all I need, and then I never have to worry about this again. So it says dries your body in seconds, and yeah, they've got a lot of different things on here. So it does look like it's just like a scale with like a vacuum tube blowing air, reversed blowing air on you. Is that really what we're looking at here?
I think so. I mean, it does look like a bathroom scale, maybe a little bit bigger. So you probably have to have a reasonably sized bathroom for this to not be like totally in the way. But I love the idea. The only problem I have is that like that sensation of standing on just like a nice warm blast of air, that's going to extend the amount of time that I spend in the bathroom, just because like it's already hard enough to get out of the shower when it's like cold outside and like, oh, this is so nice. And then you're standing on, a warm vortex of air drying you off. I just won't leave the bathroom for like a solid hour at this point if I have that whole thing.
I mean, you're working from home. Who's going to notice? You can just go on your Zoom calls, with that while you're standing on it. I mean, nobody can really say anything.
Fabulous, fabulous point, Greg. You've convinced me.
There it is. All right, Drew's a backer now. All right, the final one that we've got here is Talo or Talo. It's a smart toothbrush that fits and cleans in seconds. I mean, there's a million smart toothbrushes out there, so what's unique about this one?
I mean, so yeah, smart toothbrushes that like track like, how much you brush and like all of that stuff have been around, but no, they haven't really caught on. But there's also kind of this like this newish trend. It's been happening for the past couple of years of just like redesigning the toothbrush entirely so that it cleans your mouth faster. And we've seen ones that do like, it's like an entire mouthpiece that you stick in and it automatically, oscillates and cleans all your teeth simultaneously. This one is slightly different. Instead of cleaning your whole mouth all at once, it just cleans like half of it, which to me seems like it would be slightly less efficient, but it also seems like it'd be easier to fit in your mouth and move around and kind of, if it's missing a certain spot, you can still kind of move it. But yeah, basically it has these little motors that run the bristles across your teeth at like super high speeds. Yeah, look at this thing. It's ridiculous.
Yes. Also, why are there that many people in this person's bathroom? But besides all that,
because brushing your teeth is an event when you have one of these things. You'll invite everybody over.
Everybody come over and watch me brush my teeth. All right, I like the idea of rethinking something though. If you just stick it in, you don't have to the tiresome movement of moving your arm back and forth or slightly revolving it around a little bit if you have an electric toothbrush. Get rid of that kind of work. If you combine this with the blow dryer, I think you might have something that's even a better product here.
Oh, totally. And then just somehow like, connect it to like the bathroom, like the toilet as well. So you just don't even have to move to get all of your bathroom activities done. It's just a one-stop shop. You just stand in a pod and it does everything for you.
Yeah.
That's the future.
That's it. That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yeah.
It is. That's what all this tech is about. Hello. So it is pledged. So it's $30,000 now. Right now it's at $35,000 with 24 days to go. So people do want apparently to back something into this, and that's why we have awesome tech. You can't buy it. Go ahead, Drew.
I was gonna say this is just another one that is absolutely crushed its goal, and I have seen probably I don't know, 24 of these like new age toothbrush designs over the past like year or so. So at first I thought it was just like a flash in the pan, stupid fad that people were like capitalizing on. But after seeing a bunch of these at CES and continuing to see them on crowdfunding sites, I think we're in the midst of a like slow renaissance for toothbrush design. The old school analog, no batteries toothbrush is going the way of the dodo. Pretty soon it's going to be electric exclusively, and then also these full mouth ultra fast mouth cleaner style ones.
Nice. All right. Well, that's the prediction that we needed right here. So something to look forward to. Drew, thank you as always for joining for this, for Awesome Tech You Can't Buy Yet. You can, of course, read about more of these products at digitaltrends.com. Every week, Drew finds some of these for us. And Drew, thank you very much.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
All right. So we're ending with a toothbrush renaissance here on the show, but we started off with the Dennissance. And a big thank you to Dennis Quaid for joining us to talk about Audio Up, a really fascinating project there, and looking forward to hearing that and seeing what kind of interviews he has. Great guest here on the show. Tomorrow, though, I want to tell you about this. So here's what's coming up tomorrow on the show. We've got, well, let me ask you first off, have you heard of Tiger King? I'm going to guess you probably have. Well, we're going to be joined by one of the stars of Tiger King, John Finley, who's going to be here on the show to talk about life after this phenomenon, what he's going through right now, what he's got on the docket coming up. We're really excited to have him on here. John Finley from Tiger King right here on Digital Trends Live tomorrow. Huge. We also have John Velasco, so it's a double John show. So John Velasco will be talking about smart home products as well, so that's all coming up tomorrow. And the way you don't miss these is by hitting subscribe. Right now, on whatever platform you're watching on, whatever your favorite is, hit subscribe on there. You'll get the notification when we go live, which is 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Not to be there's the spoiler on it. That's when we go live every single day. But join us tomorrow to check out John Finley from Tiger King right here, and all of the latest tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, everything else that we bring here every day. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We do appreciate it. And I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll be right back here tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.